first started too.
Yep.
That was kind of awkward. Already, Coach. Well,
Yep.
you've had some time after that one. The good things out of it, and then the things that you have to improve to kind of be on the other side of that.
Sure. 10 and a half hour road trip going down. It was hot, and there was a lot of things that we could have looked at to say, oh man, like these things could be working against us. And I thought our guys came out, played really well in the first half. I thought we really showed that we were very capable of being in the game and having some momentum and being able to do a lot of good things. And I think we're getting cleaner with communication. We're getting cleaner with doing some assignments better. And, I think it looks a little sharper in a lot of areas. I think there's still a lot of growth, still a lot of things that we definitely need to improve on. You look at the second half, and it obviously was not in our favor. And, we just could not sustain the momentum, could not sustain the execution level that we needed to be able to play a four-quarter game. And I think that's been kind of the tale of two games now that have really bit us. And, we've got to be able to really learn those lessons and learn them quicker than obviously what we have, because it's kind of hurt us here in a couple games like that.
And then, Coach, we kind of look ahead, conference play coming up, and some of those teams that you'll be going up against or have been in those big moments, big situations.
Mm-hmm.
How do you guys go into those games, and kind of what's the mindset headed into conference play?
Yeah, I think what it is people have got to keep the big picture in mind and got to be able to see that we need to just keep winning little battles at a time. And our guys, give them a lot of credit because, you're expected to commit and to stay true to the process of building right now. And it's hard to do that when you are faced with an 0-4 record and you look at the scoreboard and the results are not what you want it to be. And you got to give them a lot of credit to just stay in the fight and to keep battling. And we try to find ways as a coaching staff to just keep that motivation, to keep on giving guys a belief and a hope of what we're doing. And I really like our team in terms of where we're at. We had a fantastic practice last night, and I think just to be able to go into conference right now and to see that actually a lot of our goals are all on the table still. We never started this thing out and said that we have to be 4-0 before we start the conference. And what we want to do is we want to keep improving every week. We want to continue to show competitive excellence every week. We still, there's a lot of football left to be played. And so I think, for our guys to know that and to keep the big picture of what we're trying to accomplish here step by step, that it just says a lot for our guys to continue to fight through that adversity, to try to persevere. And, I think they're going to stay the course here.
Coach, looking back at the game against Quincy, with 15 minutes left in the game, it was 28-20. You guys were within a touchdown, being right back in it, tying the game. And then you look at the end of the game, 45-27, a lot of points made up there in the last 15 minutes. What do you think that, led to that? I don't want to say the collapse, but to the, maybe a lot of points scored there by
Yeah,
Quincy.
no, I think that's fair. It's we let our guard down. I think we kind of let up a little bit. I think we we got down by 2 touchdowns there shortly after when you're talking about, and it was as if we just, like the whole season was over, and honestly, the coaches kind of felt that on the sideline, and we've got to be better in those situations. Our guys have got to understand that our energy level matters, our confidence matters, the way we just, approach adverse situations like that. We can't ride such a high and a low roller coaster, and we've got to stay steady, we've got to stay consistent, we've got to stay positive. And there was a ton of time left on the clock, as you're mentioning. We've got to be able to learn to play all 4 quarters and know that there's a lot of time, a lot of opportunity, and a lot of plays left out on the field that we can still capitalize on.
And you were talking about, there's still a lot of goals left on the table.
Yep.
Looking at you personally, though, for first year as the head coach, you're 4 games in now. How do you feel about how the team's done so far? How do you feel about your performance so far on the year, and just how everything's going?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, as a competitive coach, you want everything to happen a lot quicker than what it does, of course. And so with that comes, a test of patience, and yet it's a tall task. I mean, it's a hard task, and you've got to be able to get a group that you bring in really half the team in the fall that was not here, and you got to get everybody on the same page, and you got a lot of guys that had never really played college football before and are getting a lion's share of their snaps right now, and you got to bring them together. You got to establish what the culture of playing is going to be like. What your performance and what your expectations are going to be on the field, and so we are right in the midst of it. And I would say, I wish we were further along. I'd like to be able to say like we have some wins, that we could notch as a result of some of the things that we are doing better, and yet it just hasn't happened yet. And so we've got to continue to try to find ways to get the best out of our team. We've got to continue to try to find ways to get our habits to be better. And we talk about that, as a team. And last night we talked about how we can't just keep talking about those things. We have to be practical. We got to see those things change in practice. We got to make sure that we're holding ourselves accountable more. We got to make sure that just the expectations have to be understood better by everybody, and everybody's got to make conscious choices every day to be better in those areas. And so I wish it was better, to be quite honest, and yet I think we're finding out, it's a tough task right now, and this is where we're at, and we got to just continue to find ways where we can be positive and to try to find little ways that we can build and grow. And I think over time it's going to come together. I really am very hopeful that even in the next 7 weeks, there's going to be a lot of good stuff that comes out of this, and we're going to see our team continue to compete and grow. But obviously, you want some wins to go along with that. So that's really the difficult thing right now.
Yeah, you had mentioned about the Quincy game that the coaches even felt on the sideline that players are kind of, maybe giving up on the year, giving up on that game in particular. Are there any concerns from the coaching staff about maybe losing the locker room or kind of guys buying out?
No, I don't think so. I mean, and I don't think, we necessarily thought that they were going to give up on the year per se. It's just that was the feeling in the moment of just how disappointed maybe our players were of not being able to handle that adversity in that moment, right? So, no, I don't think we're concerned about that at this moment in time. I think we are being proactive to make sure that that doesn't happen. We want to make sure that our culture stays intact, and we want to make sure that the nucleus of the players that we want to be here and to build this thing with, we want to make sure that they stay on board. And so we're trying to be proactive as coaches to address some of those things and to make sure that we are building guys up just as much as we're demanding excellence out of them. It's kind of a two-way street there.
Coach, how would you evaluate this game offensively against Quincy, particularly the passing game?
I thought it was good. There's a lot of good that came along with it. I mean, obviously the yardage spoke for itself. I think Mariano's completion percentage was really good. We held up pretty decently protection-wise. What's interesting is, I think we're really thin at receiver right now, and yet we were finding ways to get open and to get guys the ball. And in particular, Michael Love, he was a guy that really came on strong this week, and he's a really good threat for us, and just hadn't really been able to get him going, and actually challenged him really firmly last week. And he just needed to be a lot cleaner on some things, and his dependability factor, and he really stepped up to that challenge. I was really proud of him, and he won Offensive Player of the Week this week, for the team, and just did some really good stuff. He showed, how to play full speed to the whistle and finish blocks and run downfield, and I think our production offensively in the pass game was very adequate. We then got to find a way to make sure that we complement that with running the ball, and I still think that one of our biggest challenges right now offensively is to be able to capitalize and finish. If we can put the ball in the red zone more often and quicker in the game, I think it just changes the flow of the game.
My last question is, you've seen good offense this year, you've seen good defense this year. How do you get both sides of the ball to be up to standard at the same time?
Yeah, great question. It's a challenge. It's something where every day we're looking at it to where guys have to understand, it's two things. They've got to play complementary football, with each other, and then they've also got to make sure that they're focusing on their side of the ball and not worrying about what is happening on the other side, right? And so, sometimes what happens is the defense can allow their play and production to be affected by, oh man, if the offense isn't scoring points, or if there's a 3 and out and we got to go right back out there again, and that sometimes starts to wear on your mentality a little bit. And probably likewise for the offense, right? I mean, if the defense gives up points, the offense maybe feels a little bit more pressure that they have to score more points, and maybe that affects them. And everybody's just got to stay focused on doing their job one play at a time. Everybody has to be an all-star in their role, and whatever that role is, you got to be able to perform it well. And I think it's just bit by bit, step by step, rep by rep, and over time, guys have to understand how the little things do make up the big things.
Cool.
Coach, final question here for me. Not sure if you're aware, Bowling Green State University hockey program recently had a hazing incident where the coach ended up, I believe he was on unpaid leave, and then the 3 players suspended. Not the same sport, but it is a college sport. Hazing is something that we see across all sports in college. Have you addressed this incident with your team, or hazing in general? Have you taken any actions to make sure something like this doesn't happen in Northern?
Yeah, I think we haven't talked specifically about that incident. We talk about just expectations. We talk about making sure that our character choices and what we're doing to represent our team off the field or even outside of practice or whatever that is, we understand what that's supposed to look like. And I think our guys understand that we're going to handle ourselves in a first-class manner, and we have addressed hazing in the past in terms of what's expected and what's acceptable and what's not. And we kind of do some internal fun things that would not be considered hazing, but you keep a camaraderie and you keep a team morale going, so that maybe guys don't have to go out and resort to other things that might be kind of crossing the line. And so I think our guys are extremely mature, and they understand what our character expectations are and our behavioral expectations are, and I'm not really concerned about that with our team.
I think we're good.